Kate Mila Falcha, welcome to Psychics and Psychos, or is it Psychos and Psychics? I can
It's
never
Psychics
remember.
and Psychos. Yeah.
Okay, we're first. I can remember that. I'm Helen, Irish Granny Helen, and this is Denise Siegel, my partner in crime, literally here. Welcome, Denise. And no, we did not call each other and say, I'll be wearing the burgundy
I know,
color.
we were the same color. I never wear this color. But
this
yeah.
happens so often, it's become like a meme, right?
Yeah.
So who are we doing today?
The Black Dahlia. Not the murderer, but the murdered. The victim.
Yeah, Elizabeth Short, and
which is something we don't normally do. We don't normally do the victim. We normally do the murderer, but this will be interesting to find out.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I hadn't really thought about it because she figures so prominently. I did a previous video the other day. If people want to go back and get the entire background of the story and her life. And I would just like to reiterate that it's a shame that it's remembered as the Black Dahlia, which becomes mythological. It's a film noir murder. It's the story of a femme fatale who, encounters the wrong man. And none of that is true.
Yeah.
None of it. And her name was Elizabeth Short. She was a very troubled young woman. And this is going to be really fascinating. I am dying to see what you got in her chart because I did her cards and I told you I was completely blown away because every single card, I did a Celtic cross and I did 4 Lenormand cards and they all said the same thing.
Right. Well, I don't know much about Black Dahlia. I had a friend I was in a band with who was very obsessed with the Black Dahlia. She read the Black Dahlia book. She told me a little bit about it, but I was never really that interested in it. Mostly, I don't know why. I just didn't find it very interesting. Not that I didn't, I think, I don't know much about her, which I'm kind of glad I don't, because I'm just going to be looking at it completely from the astrological, from her psychological framework, and that's it.
Well, she was a young woman who was murdered I should know this, 1947.
Yeah, she was murdered in the 40s. That's right.
In Los Angeles.
Yes, in LA.
And she is she got called Black Dahlia, was kind of a way to keep the case in the public eye, kind of a cynical choice by the LA police, but also was really quickly taken up by the media. A movie had come up called The Blue Dahlia.
Right, that's right.
Film noir was all a thing. And so it was this weird psychological mishmash of media manipulation and police desperate to keep the case going. So they had to paint a picture of her as a deserving victim, and the real woman.
It was that makes no sense really, but you know what I mean? I mean, why would people be empathic towards her if she deserved it? That's weird.
I don't think it's about as much about evincing empathy as it is keeping the eyes on the story and keeping the police working on it to keep it became a media thing,
Right.
So, and the police, of course, they wanted to blame her and just sort of write it off as, well, what was she wearing?
Like how they do with, what they do with prostitutes, which is why that guy in Long Island was able to murder so many women for so many years, even in this environment where we have cameras on every corner and people are being watched. He was able to do that because there are people that, don't have anybody advocating for them,
Well, that's a story we should do. They actually, those young women, almost all of them had families.
Yes, they did, but
they
still
didn't have choices. And there's
But that is why people pick on prostitutes, is because they don't have support system.
That's
generally.
Right. They're disrespected by the culture,
and people don't care about them. They're throwaway people.
Yeah,
which is horrible.
And often, I mean, I'm all for advocating for sex works it's a legitimate choice, but at the same time, many young women fall into it out of a lack of choices. So,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
think it should be like it is in Europe,
regulated.
where
Yeah.
it's regulated and people know where to go, and it's people treat it and they treat them and they make sure they're healthy and they make sure they're not being taken advantage of. And that's, I mean, if you're going to do that work, then
Well, it excludes a lot of the social problems that go hand in hand with it. It's
yes,
kind of like being an actor. You're never going to avoid having huge ego narcissists that gravitate towards it. But when you create a standard of acting, a standard for the art, it helps a bit to bring in people that really actually do have talent and just aren't all about, you know, wanting to be the focus of attention.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's. You have not yet really analyzed her chart. Is that what you're saying?
I haven't read anything about the case except for like maybe years ago, a little bit. I think I read the book that my friend was telling me about in the 90s. That was a long time ago, like literally like mid 90s.
Now, was that the book?
Like 30 years ago.
I remember his name now. Was that the book by Steve Hodel?
I don't remember the author. I just remember it was the only book that I think was out there. And it was sort of this whole premise that he was a doctor who murdered her and he was friends with Man Ray.
Man Ray, the photographer. Yeah. Okay, so Steve Hodel was a retired LA homicide detective.
That's right. That's right.
And he claimed that his father, George, the doctor, was the killer of Elizabeth Short. And he goes back into his childhood, which is undeniably really pathological. His stepsister, at least I think it's his stepsister, Fawn, also wrote a book. And it's just unbelievable. We won't go into it here because it requires the use of too many words we'll get in trouble for.
Right.
You know,
I didn't read that book, but I mean, my take on it was at the time, it seemed like, that seems like a weird hypothesis. But in the book doesn't have much about her in it, really. It's mostly about.
No, it doesn't. No, it's about his father.
Right. It's all about his father. So I really didn't know much about her, and except for that book and a couple of things I heard, and that's about it. So I'm glad I don't know much about her because I think it's better to look at her.
Well, his father, you know, was an interesting character to look at. He was a doctor and he provided medical services to the sex workers of LA and to the women in the lives of the police department and connected officials. So, you know, he was your friendly neighborhood abortionist. He passed out antibiotics, you know.
Right.
Yeah, he was handy to have around. And therefore, the extrapolation is that they kind of a break and didn't really research him. Her body has been described when it was found as being intentionally posed like a Man Ray photograph. Listening to, you'll have to watch the video that I made. It's too much to go into here, but listening to people who are impartial and not starting out with the theory and then trying to support the theory, you know, it's coincidental that there are similarities, but that's not what happened.
I'm a visual artist. And when I saw that, my first thought was, well, I mean, that just seems like somebody who's really disturbed could have done that. It doesn't necessarily look like it was trying to copy Man Ray. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think that.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing is really odd. Also, what we should address is I've got some feedback, and a lot of people, and I am equally guilty of this assumption until recently. A lot of people believe that when you're a killer like that, you can't stop, and you continue that pattern the rest of your life, that there's no such thing as one off and you're done. So they have to find a link. There has to be other crimes that match. And behavioral analysts with the FBI, you know, the big psychology people who study this kind of thing as an expertise, they've come to the conclusion that no, we look back now on people that we've proven by genetics that they are the perpetrator.
Right.
And they do stop. They do have the ability to control themselves and stop. If there's not
another thing that could be true is just because people don't know of a personal link to that case doesn't mean there wasn't one. And that could have been a crime of passion or something else that we don't know about.
We don't know. That's right. I cite some very interesting discussions, podcasts, and books. I can't talk about it right now because I'll never remember all their names. But yeah, the professional behavioral analysts are of the opinion that that was something that we did not understand correctly about serial killers. They do, many of them, not all of them, but many of them have the ability to control their behavior. They can stop, they can start, they can stop again. A perfect example is BTK. He went 30 years.
Yeah, right.
Without doing it. And he was back in the saddle, getting ready to do it again when they caught him because he got arrogant and forgot about computer technology being
right. And it evolved 30 years later. Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk about her chart.
Okay. You want to start with that? Okay. So I will get out of this section here so I can look at it because I was trying to share it, but it doesn't work. Okay. So now she has a very intense victim chart here. She's got a Sun, Neptune. She's got the Neptune node and Mercury all conjunct. So one of the things I've found with people who are either on either side of the spectrum of violence, it's not uncommon for there to be nodal conjunction. So that is true of a lot of the victims as well as people that are the victimizers.
And is this the node you always talked about, serial killer?
Yeah. So the node, the node is shadow stuff brought forward from other lifetimes, karma and shadow stuff, things that haven't been dealt with. And in her case, having the Neptune, the North Node, and Mercury all conjunct in Scorpio, and I mean in Leo, and her Sun is actually close enough by a stretch. It's within orb of the Neptune. So it really makes a stellium in Leo. It tells you, that with the North Node in Leo, so the South Node in Aquarius is a feeling of not being different, not fitting in, feeling like she's, a neglected kind of thing. Somebody who, and in the 7th house or solar 7th, it's feeling like she needs someone else to support her. She needs to be in a relationship. She doesn't know how to stand on her own. And that Neptune configuration, Neptune rules loss. It also rules victimization. It rules naivete, and it can also be related to drugs or alcohol. But in this case, with it being in Leo, first of all, there's a part of her that really, really, really wants attention and really wants to be seen, but there's also a lot of fear about being seen. And that North Node in Leo might have attracted her towards going to a place like Los Angeles, or a place where maybe someone would spot her and she would be, she's kind of naive probably with that Neptune node Mercury, and easily manipulated and easily deluded, kind of, if that makes sense. Like that Neptune nodal thing is a gullibility, and a gullibility. She could have been manipulated by someone who said, "Oh, you're so beautiful. I'll do this and do that for you." And she may not have, she wouldn't have the kind of ability to see through that. She would have been
discernment about people. Yeah.
She was gullible.
Well, let me interrupt you because you're right on the track, and I know you don't know anything about her life. Do you want me to wait and tell you a little bit that supports what you're saying? You want to just go for it and talk about her family of origin and stuff?
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and you can tell me what I got wrong and what I got right. Okay, so So, I mean, there is a real desire on her part because of past lives not being seen and feeling neglected, and this life wanting to be seen but being afraid of it, also being gullible. And she's also with this much Leo in her chart. There's a sort of blindness that goes with this kind of thing, which is sort of if she decides that she loves you or she cares about you, then you can do no wrong kind of thing. It's sort of like they don't, people with this much Leo don't tend to see the shadow side of people. They don't tend to be able to kind of see the dark side until it's too late. The other thing is with that Neptune part of the node thing, there's a loss, and victimization is sort of part of the theme of her life of maybe throwing herself or loving someone who takes advantage of her or losing that person. And the occluded Mercury is an inability to really speak up for herself or feeling like she wants to be able to say what she wants, but she's also afraid to really speak her truth. Then she's got a Pluto moon conjunction in Cancer. So this is kind of a controlling environment she would have grown up as a child. This is her family of origin stuff. The moon in Cancer is exalted. So but with Pluto on it, and then she's got Saturn and Libra, which don't square it by exactness, but they square it by sign. So there's tension between the parents, a mother who's controlling and a father who maybe is, and I don't know what house it falls in, except for in the third here, a father who's sort of not really integrated. He sextiles her Mercury, and he opposes her Saturn opposes Chiron, so a wounded kind of character father, maybe a little bit more passive, although the Scorpio rulership of the fourth house implies that there's a controlling environment that she grew up in, and a neglectful one too, with that Uranus ruler of the South Node in Aquarius. So she's also got Mars conjunct the South Node, even though it's in Pisces. And again, she can't be direct. She can't go straight forward for things. It's all these retrograde planets too. And that Mars in Pisces thing is attraction to the fantastical, the beautiful, being somebody who's a little bit in fantasy, especially with Uranus and Pisces there. And that Mars in Pisces is kind of not being able to be direct, kind of, it's sort of hiding your intentions or feeling like you can't put yourself out there directly, kind of doing things a little below the surface, being a little secretive. Maybe she's got a secret life or something like that. She can't really, she doesn't feel comfortable showing herself, and it trines her moon. Maybe that comes out of her childhood with the controlling environment where she compensates by doing what she wants to do under the radar. And then that Uranus in Pisces, it doesn't really, it kind of inconjuncts stuff. It inconjuncts her Neptune ruler. So she's got these two sides of her personality that don't mesh together. On the one hand, there's that sort of, she can seem very kind of commanding because she's got the node and all that Leo. So when you see her, she might have appeared to be confident and kind of almost like mysterious. And that's probably where the Black Dahlia stuff came in, and kind of glamorous. But that's really not who she is. That's kind of like an affect, or sort of like just the surface of her. But because in reality, she's kind of insecure and unable to really, and kind of naive and not able to really be direct or kind of assert herself, even though she might want control, because she's got Pluto and Moon in Cancer, and she's got Venus in Cancer too, which she might have been. Venus in Cancer has I heard this a long time ago, and I don't know if it's true. This is what I was told by an older astrologer back in the 90s, that Venus in Cancer can mean the person is kinky. I don't know if that's true, or not, but it could just mean that she was maybe more willing to do things that, a little bit more adventurous. And when she was in a relationship with someone, especially because it trines her Mars, she might have been kind of submissive in relationships. But again, she has a side to her that wants to be in control, but she really doesn't know probably how to, because it's in the 12th house. And she can be easily undermined by other people who know how to manipulate her. She's got a Jupiter in Sag, trining her sun, and in conjuncting her moon Pluto. So again, this is like, again, there's like these different compartmentalized parts of her that are not integrated. And when you see a lot of inconjunctions in someone's natal chart, it often means they have a lot of trauma, because when you see a lot of them, that's somebody who has multiple personality disorder. Like if somebody has tons of them, it means there's all these pockets of personality things that don't integrate. So her having several very key things that are not correlating means that she has like these different parts of her that she keeps separate, that they don't work together. Now, as she got older, she might have learned how to, integrate them, but she didn't get that opportunity. It in conjuncts her moon and Pluto exactly. And so she doesn't have a yod. She's got these in conjunctions, which are even harder in some ways to integrate, because, she may have had some luck in some ways, but then, she may have had some luck in love when she was younger, but then that Neptune conjunction to the node, she may not have been able to keep that relationship, or she would have lost that relationship. I think she did lose her fiance or something in war. So that's kind of part of that. She probably felt like he was her way out, but, and that was her ticket, but then that didn't work out. And she had to kind of find her own way, which she was kind of a lost soul looking at her chart. Like, maybe if she would have had some guidance and had a chance to grow up, she would have learned to deal with this. But her being a young woman and all of these disparate parts of her that don't make any sense and need time to integrate were key probably to why she was victimized, I would think. Somebody would know how to take advantage of all that. And she also has a Uranus Saturn in conjunction, not exact, but still. So I don't know, maybe the father went MIA when she was a little bit 5, 6 years old or something like that, or something might have happened to the dad because of that in conjunction. I'm not sure exactly about that because I don't have her exact time, but yeah, she's got a lot of she's more complicated than she appears to be, probably, to people.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Can you tell what her relationship is to the truth?
To the truth?
Mm-hmm.
I would think she wouldn't have a very good sense of that, to be honest. I mean, she's got a lot of Neptune stuff. So she was probably lived a lot in fantasy, a lot of in her head and what she wanted to believe, not what was real. So I would expect her to be not very grounded and somebody who probably lived in her imagination and her desire and through her needs and her,
I'm dying to tell you what I know.
Okay.
About
Yeah.
Because,
okay. Go ahead.
I'm so shocked. You hit the nail on the head. I got a really interesting listen to a guy who studied her for decades. And he said, and this has been confirmed by FBI behavioral analysts who've looked at it. He said that you could have seen her on the street and she'd look beautiful. Really put together.
Right? Yeah, Leo.
So, and you could sit and have a cup of coffee with her for a couple hours and carry on a conversation, and it would seem fine. He said, but at a certain point, the veneer would start to wear off. And in reality, she was like any number of homeless people with mental issues that we see wandering around. So let me tell you why. And I just, I did a really good job of not reacting because it was killing me. Okay. So she is one of 5 daughters. She was born and grew up in the Boston, just outside of Boston, Lowell, I think. She had 2 older sisters, 2 younger sisters. She was extremely close to her father. She was daddy's little girl, right? When she was 6 years old, her father's car was found abandoned.
Oh my God.
On a bridge, and they thought he killed himself.
Oh my God. Wow.
And so her poor mother was left to deal with and this is right at the beginning of the Depression. It's interesting. He had a business designing and building miniature golf courses.
Wow.
And he went broke because of the Depression, and he couldn't
Wow.
handle it. So this was this devastating trauma. And
Yeah,
we
that
all
was
know,
the year. Yeah, that would have been exact when in about 5 or 6 years.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all know that most people, when they have, excuse me, have a trauma like that, their emotional development is stunted at that point.
Yes.
Until they get therapy and the trauma is addressed and dealt with, then they can grow up. And so you see a lot of people who've had.
Yeah, she's like a little girl, a lost little girl.
She's a 6-year-old. Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's all that.
So let me tell you what else I know about her. When you said she was a lost soul, that's 100% correct. You said that loss is the theme of her life, that loving someone that she's lost, that's a direct quote you said, feeling neglected, needing somebody, wanting attention. Also fear that if you could lose somebody that,
Yes, the North Node. Yep.
And you said, was it her father or her fiance? And I'm like, don't react.
Maybe,
and you said there was tension between the parents. Well, duh. I mean, that's what triggered the whole incident that traumatized her. You said
what happened between the parents? Do you know?
Well, something financial, because he bailed.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
But you said the father wasn't fully integrated and probably neglectful. I think so. 11 years later, the mother got a letter from the father. He had run away and abandoned them and was living in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
So she reconnected by mail with her father, and he offered, come stay with me.
Oh, wow.
That's why she went to LA. She's often described as an actress. She never acted a day in her life. She never even ever attended an audition. Sometimes she would talk about it, but she talked about doing a lot of things. She never followed through on anything. So she went to live with her father. It lasted less than a month, and she moved out. She couldn't stand being around him. She felt that he was imposing on her because he wanted her to do dishes and laundry. And so there's this.
He's kind of controlling the Pluto moon. Yeah.
We don't know for sure. Yeah. Was he just expecting her to do her fair share? Or was he looking at her as a live-in maid? And I'll tell you honestly, my first reaction before I knew the details, when I heard that she only lasted a month with her father, my first reaction was, what did he try to do?
Yeah, right. I got that same feeling. Okay. Yeah.
And they used the word, I thought this was so interesting. My little Latin brain is going. You used the word that she lives in fantasy. And it just struck me, infant,
Yeah.
Same root word,
Right.
That she's secretive, and her image of herself, is not really who she is. So here's what was happening with her. She traveled. She was an itinerant person. She slept on people's couches. She went on, as the FBI guy described it, hundreds of first dates. She'd go out with a guy for a meal. Then she'd try to borrow money. And she had this running list that she'd circle back to the beginning and go through the list, using people to borrow money. So for one person, it would be a bad tooth. And another person, I need to get pictures taken for modeling and I don't have the money to pay for it right now. And all these different excuses. So she never had a permanent home. If she did, somebody else would pay the rent on a room or a hotel or whatever.
Yeah, that's the South. That sounds like very codependent. Yeah.
So she was homeless. She was aimless. She had no job. She was 100% begging for money. Her mother would send her money. She got money from men. Now, they're very careful not to make accusations. And I think that the LA police fully bought into this notion. Today, psychologists try not to point fingers, but I think there's fairly good reason to believe that she was involved in a little casual sex work. I mean, I think.
Right. Yeah.
I think so. No judgment. She was desperate, but she was emotionally so traumatized that she really couldn't be an adult. She just never grew up. She was.
That's also her personality too, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how her personality was kind of like that to begin with, kind of all that Leo around the node. She probably had some mental health issues that were always with her, that maybe with the nodal conjunction.
And that kind of a trauma, that loss at 6.
Yeah, that might have triggered the underlying mental health.
Never got. And she was really beautiful. She really was beautiful. And she was able to get away with a lot because we are in a very shallow culture.
Right.
And she was able to use that to her benefit. Now, the story about the fiance. So she told everybody that she had this boyfriend. She liked to date sailors and soldiers, people in the military. This is just at the end of World War II. She ended up in California, I think in like the early 40s, 42, 43.
Right
and she was there for several years. And after the war, she claimed she had a fiance, this one guy she'd been dating. So there was a guy she dated, and he was a flyer in the Army Air Force because there was no separate Air Force. And he died. He died on the last day of the war, she claimed. Is it true?
We don't know. Right.
Is this a repeating trauma that she's invented because she hasn't dealt with, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to dust off my psychiatry diploma. But,
or maybe she had a fantasy.
That's what I'm saying.
Because she was prone to fantasy, I think, very prone to it. Yeah.
Well, if you think about the time period, young women didn't eat out alone. Young women didn't wander around a lot alone.
No.
Young women lived.
They used to have boarding houses for women.
Right.
My mom lived in one in the 60s.
Right. The Hollywood studios had these apartment complexes that they owned for the young starlets, and they would be in a dormitory sort of situation because it was frowned upon for young women to be wandering alone. And that's what she was doing. She was completely at loose ends, completely on her own. So if you think of it in terms of what you might see today in a homeless population, she was more like that than she was in any way like this romanticized version of herself as the femme fatale. And so what the experts believe today, all these other stories are interesting. All the connections that people try to make to other crimes or whatever, they're very interesting. There's no definitive proof that they're completely off base, but there's no proof that anything is true. But what they think happened was she was not the focus of the crime. The focus of the crime was woman in a general sense, what she represented, and the place where she was dumped was actually more, it spoke more to who did it. She was dumped in this area that was a kind of a new-ish development of lower-priced houses, smaller houses that were being bought up by young couples coming back from the war. They might, recently married, 1 or 2 children, very white middle class, aspiring to be middle class.
GI Bill type houses. Yeah,
exactly. And so it wasn't fully developed. There were still chunks of undeveloped area. Her body was dumped on 2 side-by-side empty lots. So it looked like a big field.
Mm-hmm.
And what the analyst said is they would be more interested in knowing who lived in the neighborhood, what relationship she had to the neighborhood, that did this killer want to disrespect somebody, some girl who rejected him, some real estate agent who cheated him on a land deal in that area, some weird connection, somebody who owned a house in the area that he was making a veiled statement because it wouldn't be obvious, right? Or was it his relationship just to women in general? Was he this, predator, misogynist creep, and she represented women in general?
Why do they think that, and that it wasn't related to somebody who she had dated, who she took for some money?
They think she probably knew him very casually.
Right.
But it wasn't the kind of murder that
It wasn't a murder of passion.
Yeah,
right.
It wasn't a murder of passion. It wasn't some guy got mad at her and then went
right, choked her out.
Ooh.
Right.
No, there was a little bit of like ritualistic stuff going on there, right?
Right.
And I don't want to get too much into it because YouTube, but you can look that part up, yeah. But the cuts right here that they equate to the man rape photograph. The FBI guy said, well, no, if you had a larger understanding, it's called a Glasgow smile. And it was done by the gangs in Scotland to their enemies who either ratted them out.
Right.
So, they can't talk, right? When you cut like that.
Yeah, it seems like it's about speaking more than
right. And what they think happened is this is somebody she dated casually. She was missing for 6 days. And they don't know if this person kept her and, did stuff to her.
Right.
Or if they were together and things went ugly at the end and he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But they think she probably said something. She probably laughed at him or insulted him or said something he didn't like that just augmented his already not stable psychological state,
That makes sense. I mean, was that a thing in Glasgow? I mean, did they ever think?
Yes, that's why it's called the Glasgow smile.
Well, maybe he was somebody from one of those gangs. I mean, that was.
Here's one interesting little tidbit, and I don't know if anybody has actually pursued this. The older man who had Larry Harlish is his name, and he's got a YouTube channel, and he's followed this for several decades now. He's a professional researcher. He didn't come to it through true crime. He came through it through research, and he was offended by the way true crime community has lost its mind, and they're always claiming solutions and accusing people, and it just it's out of control, and he's offended by that because it's not really true to the facts. You don't go into a crime with a preconceived endpoint and try to fit all your evidence there. You go in and you look at the evidence in a scientific way. So he does it from a scientific way. And he said he found something that he actually does think might be significant. No way to know unless it's investigated. I don't know if it's been investigated. Some guy called him up and said, I've been collecting stuff about the Black Dahlia for a really long time. And I, for whatever reason, too sick, too old, whatever, I need to get rid of it, but I don't want to just throw it away. And I know how dedicated you are. Would you like it? He said, yes. The guy sent him a box of stuff. In it was documents, amongst other stuff. And he was paging through these documents, and he found a marriage certificate. And it was a marriage certificate for her sister. One of her sisters got married in LA, moved and got married in LA. And when he looked closely at the marriage certificate, he saw that the maid of honor, her family, lived on the same street where the body was found.
Well, let's just,
I'm not done.
Well, let me just throw this out there. Wait. The maid of honor, maybe it was someone related to her that was having an affair with the Black Dahlia, and Black Dahlia said she's going to tell the wife or something if you don't give me money, because she's desperate, and that's what got her killed.
Well, here's the fun part. So they lived only about a block or so away. They lived very, very close. But here's the weird part. The maid of honor's father was a surgeon.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, maybe she was having an affair with him for money.
Or maybe he just had an obsession with her, it was one of those Looney Tunes who had an obsession with her.
I don't know.
But that's a lot of speculation. We don't know. We're just having
I know we're speculation, but it would make sense if, for example, he's an older man and she's a beautiful young woman and she dates him for money and for help, and then maybe he doesn't want to help her, and she says, well, I'm going to tell your wife.
Or
Hey.
she meets him at the wedding and he kind of makes a bit of a move on her and she just ridicules him.
Or she ignores him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think, you really hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's just incredible how many points of her life you hit on. She was a troubled young woman. She was nothing glamorous. She wasn't a would-be actress. She claimed to be a model, but the only thing she ever modeled was a little time she spent in Chicago modeling hats.
Oh.
Yeah. So she wasn't really, she was really quite attractive. It's not
She was
that.
pretty.
She didn't carry through on anything. She didn't
Right.
fill out the applications or go to
I think she probably had mental health issues because of the nodal stuff. I mean, she might have been, she probably had some serious, I think it was that. Otherwise, she couldn't follow through on anything.
And as with today and the population of people who are unwell and living on the streets, they are quintessential victims. They are prey for every nut that's out there. So I did her cards. You want to hear her cards?
Sure.
Because it cracked me up. I was telling Denise I did a Celtic Cross tarot cards, and I just did 4 Lenormand cards, and every single card screamed exactly what we just talked about. It was just bizarre. So at the heart of this, I got the 6 of Swords crossed by the King of Cups reversed. And so I don't want to miss any features. I wrote everything down. Her life is defined by the need for growth out of trauma, out of a difficult situation early on. Her core issue is having no emotional growth, being stuck in stagnation and immaturity. And so at the end of each place here, I put my theory is, okay, this is about her dad's betrayal. That's at the core. When we get to the atmosphere and I get the 3 of Pentacles reversed, this is about disconnection and isolation from people. It's being literally stuck in trauma from the past. Weird, huh? At the foundation, I got the Hangman, stuck in a past event, needing to let go of deep-seated attachments that are holding you back. Mm-hmm. So the very center of this Celtic Cross is all about the loss of her father.
Right.
The psychological damage, the emotional damage that did to her. In the recent past, I get the King of Wands reversed, which is about not being good at making decisions, not having courage, not having confidence, having a bad self-image, having a lack of direction, feeling insecurity, having options to learn lessons. I mean, she was beautiful. I mean, she could have, I hate to say it, but it could have been, her moneymaker, right?
Yeah,
but she was too stuck. She couldn't move beyond the betrayal that happened to her. It damaged her self-confidence. It made her incapable, like paralyzed, incapable of making decisions. And she was rudderless because of the trauma. The near future, the Page of Pentacles reversed. This is also about missed opportunities and procrastination and a lack of focus, about being unrealistic and insecure, not being grounded, needing to act, but not being able to motivate yourself to act. So she herself, I got Judgment, which I thought was interesting. In this position, it means needing to make life changes, but being at a crossroads, needing to take control of your life, ownership of your life. And I got it in the environment of the 6 of Wands. So people see you as being successful, having potential. Right. Yeah. You look good. You sound good. You put on the veneer. You're attractive. You're in the right place. You're in LA. This would be the place to turn that into an income. So she had all this potential to be the success, but she needed to take ownership of it, and she couldn't get control of her own family. Hopes and fears. This is so interesting. The 6 of Pentacles, looking for a benefactor, looking for handouts, having fear of needing money and not having it, being dependent, looking for support. And then the outcome, also very interesting. the Ace of Cups reversed, which is about a negative emotional outcome. It's about emotions being blocked, being disappointed, not being able to find love, not able to express yourself emotionally, to being lost and sad. And look what it's crossed by. The Six of Cups reversed. I couldn't believe it, which is about, you can't let go of the past. You're stuck in the past. You're emotionally living in this past damage and nostalgia. It's a refusal to let go of the past. So then I did just 4 Lenormand cards, and I wrote Lenormand cards. Oh my God. I couldn't believe it. So this is it. Search for love, right? Needing to make that emotional attachment, the heart. That's the key. That's the core issue for her, is that inability to move forward.
Yeah.
We get the moon, which essentially is about shadow stuff, lies, deceptions, you know, and it can be from her or to her, you know, she can be, and probably
the man,
this is her father, or it's the guy that did what
the killer. Yeah.
So male deception defined her life from the beginning to the end.
To the end. Yeah. Wow.
Terrible, terrible tragedy. I'll never think of her story the same way. I have such sadness for her.
Yeah, it's very sad. She was so young. I mean, if you do the math, she was only like 23 when she was murdered.
She was 22 when she was murdered. And, you know, and her whole life was defined by loss inflicted by men.
I mean, nobody knows who they are at that age. I mean, she was never even given a chance to figure it out. It's very sad.
Right. Yeah. And taken advantage of because she was vulnerable. She was
good looking and vulnerable. Beautiful and vulnerable. Yeah. And the culture was just so, I mean.
So what do you think? Do you think that they'll ever be able to figure it out at this point? Do you think it's too lost to mythology?
I think if they didn't have DNA stuff, they probably could figure it out, you know.
I don't know if they have any possessions left, you know. It's
been a long time. Yeah.
Well, they said something really interesting about the investigation itself. Over the decades, it has been looked at by different groups of detectives, private investigators, well-meaning people. And every time somebody takes an interest in it, I'm going to take this report home. I'll bring it back. And then they forget to bring it back. Yeah. So it's been cherry picked, and what they had at the beginning, they don't have anymore.
Right. Yeah. Intuitively, my gut feeling is definitely that it was someone that she was dating, that she knew.
But casually,
casually, not somebody she was in a love relationship with, but probably someone that she was dating to help support her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And who started to feel maybe she was taking advantage, or. You know.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And maybe she said something to that person that made them feel like she was to all they were to her was a meal ticket, and that's what the mouth stuff is about, you know.
Yeah, and it would have been the sort of person who would be looking for insult anyway, looking for offense, you know, on alert for all the terrible things that women.
It had to be somebody who was a bad guy to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but she would have probably come across hundreds of men, and among hundreds of men, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 of them that are bad guys.
Oh, and keep in mind, this is post-World War II. Do you know how much horrible stuff men went through during the war, what they saw, what they did?
Yes, the PTSD, all that stuff. I mean,
right.
It could have been someone like that who wasn't quite right from the war.
The trauma, that's right.
Yeah. Could have been a number of things, but
I know people. So I'm 71, and I'm at just the right age. I have friends, depending on whether you're the oldest or you're the youngest, how old your parents were when they had you. My parents were teenagers during the war, but I had lots of friends whose parents were old enough to be drafted.
Your parents were teenagers during the war?
Mm-hmm.
My dad worked on the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, my parents were young.
My dad was in his 30s.
My mother was born in 1930.
Or late 20s, maybe. My dad was born in 1914.
Yeah, you had older parents.
My mom was not born in 1914. She was born in 1938. But yeah.
Oh, so your mother was younger than my mother.
A lot. She was 24 years younger than my dad.
Yeah, well, I'm younger than you too. I mean, you're younger than I am. That was delusion talking.
Yeah, but it's weird to think that, like, yeah, it's weird. Generationally.
Well, depending on where, how that plays out. I had a lot of friends whose fathers were in the war.
Yeah,
and I had a number of friends whose fathers suffered horrible repercussions the rest of their lives. And I won't go into details, but just suffice it to say that a lot of it got inflicted on their families.
For sure.
Really bad.
Definitely.
Because it is a spiritually killing thing to do.
Well, just like what happened with Vietnam. I mean, it doesn't matter what war. People think, Vietnam. No, all wars are bad. All wars create monsters when people come home because people see horrible things and go through incredible trauma that they can't process.
It's not normal. It's not inherent.
And how do you fold yourself back into society after you've been murdering people and seeing people being blown up? I mean, it's crazy that people think that they don't think about that. It's cuckoo. So
and the mantra is we take I'll say men, but we know it's both. We take young men and we break them down so we can build them back up. That's called cult control.
It's all about control. Controlling them so they'll do these horrible things that they wouldn't normally do. Oh,
God.
Yeah, it's horrible. But you could just imagine that, in LA it was probably full of, GIs and people who were unstable. I mean, it's a place, it's a mecca for narcissism to begin with. I lived there for a long time, and I didn't go there to become involved in Hollywood. I went there to go to art school. I had no idea even that that LA was the same thing as Hollywood. I didn't know that, or that it was related.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Chicago, so I didn't know. I thought, Los Angeles is a city and Hollywood is some weird place that, they make movies. I don't know where that is.
That's like my cousin who thought you could go he flew from Ireland to Canada, and he thought he was going to drive from Vancouver, British Columbia to Yellowstone overnight.
Oh, well,
we just said, wait a minute.
He didn't look on a map, but I knew that Hollywood is a special place. I'd been to Hollywood.
It's special, all right.
Yeah, and it's called Hollywood, and then Los Angeles is downtown and all these other parts. I didn't realize that it was kind of all this because I was only there when I was 10, and so I didn't put it together like that. It was all the same.
Los Angeles County
is so big.
I think it's bigger than Ireland. It's that big.
Probably. It's bigger than I think Rhode Island. It's bigger than that state.
Right. Yeah. And so it's an umbrella term for a lot of communities included in there. Right. You call the San Fernando Valley, LA, It
is LA. But that's the thing. It's all the way up to where I went to school. So I didn't put it together that Hollywood was. So anyway, but when I lived there, I mean, as I got further into because where I lived in Los Angeles, up in the mountains, the foothills, and Canyon Country, Cal Arts, it was like normal people. But as you got further and further, closer and closer to the epicenter, I mean, I met more and more people in the industry. I mean, if you look up narcissistic personality disorder, that's basically 90% of the people you meet that are involved in the industry.
In that business, they
have personality disorders.
Well, look at what they call themselves. The industry.
Yeah, right.
Like nobody ever made some steel ever.
I know.
It's hilarious.
Well, it's just like you can't go to a party and I used to do this on purpose, where people would ask me what I did. I would be like, oh, I wouldn't tell them, because if I told them I was a psychic, then they would want me to give them a reading. And so I stopped doing that. But then I would just be like, oh, even if I was doing something, even when I was doing stuff like that would have, I knew if I told them anything I was doing, they would just try to find a way to use me. So I'd be like, oh, nothing much. What do you do? And then they would be like, I'm not interested in you because I can't use you. And they just walk away from you. They wouldn't even talk to you. It was amazing.
Well, this is not about narcissism. This is about another cultural thing.
Yeah.
When I was, you know, a young mother, while my kids were growing up, I would meet strangers at parties, and they'd say, "What do you do?" And I'd say, "Well, I stay home with my children." There was no sense in telling them, "And I clean toilets at night," because I, you know,
right.
And people just had no interest in talking because.
Well, that's also Santa Barbara is also in proximity to Los Angeles. A lot of industry people.
Don't say where I am, but this is after I had left.
Yeah, right. No, I know. Well, I mean, I see. It was after where you are. Okay.
Yeah, I was pregnant with my first child when we left.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So it wasn't LA. But yeah, well, also probably it was the 80s or something, right? So that was a very like narcissistic period where everybody had to be doing something.
I was at home with small children.
Everybody was like, you know, baby on board. I'm a yuppie, you know, like, you know, it was such a lame period of time. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, and especially back then, people were really dismissive of women who stayed home.
That's true. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
You're a stay-at-home mother. Yeah.
They didn't even call it that. They said housewife. It was sort of demeaning. You're a housewife. Like you're a house mouse. You just sit around the house and
married to a building.
Yeah.
That's too funny. Yeah. Well, I think you're right about LA and the narcissism. And I think that area is a very easy, comparatively easy place to kind of be somewhat itinerant. The weather is good. Definitely. People are casual. People are very casual, you know, and that can work to your advantage.
And they don't care enough to actually ask you any questions about yourself. So you can kind of hide a lot and just not really not know a lot of people, but not know them. You know?
Well, that's how she was.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. And I mean, you know, in Los Angeles is a car culture. There's no buses or, I mean, there are, but it takes you like 3 hours to get 5 miles.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
You know, so everything's spread out, and, you know, you don't really see people unless you make a point to see them. It's not a normal city, and there's no sense of community there, you know, none of that. It's a very weird place. And coming from Chicago, I had no clue. Like I thought it was just going to be a normal city, you know, whatever, Hollywood, wherever, but it's a city. It's just like any other, like New York or Los Angeles or, you know, Chicago. They're all kind of cities. No, Los Angeles is its own thing that sets apart from every other place I've ever been. And the people that gravitate, it's like a magnet for narcissists and crazy people. I mean, the further you get, the closer you get to the water too, there's more and more homeless people and kind of schizophrenics, you know, wandering about talking to themselves. I don't know what it is about that area of the water.
Well, I think it's because you can camp on the beach. You can
camp on the beach, you can panhandle, it's temperate there. And it attracts a lot of people who that's what they think. Like, I can't afford to live. I don't want to live in my house or what. I don't know. Or they have mental health problems. Well, let's go where it's warm. You see a lot of that in Florida too. I think people get themselves on a bus, pay the $50, and, you know, then they think, well, that's my ticket. I'll be able to survive on the streets. It's warm enough.
Well, I don't want to do too much politics, but I'll just say this: you and I will have to get together and talk about what they're building in Utah right now. Have you heard about that?
Oh, yes, I have heard that. Yes.
Last year, what did I mean, I'm getting a tattoo that says "I told you so." Last year, I said they're going to build camps. And nobody wanted to believe it. And I'm going to do another video here today. I've got a prediction to make that's going to drive some people absolutely crazy.
I mean, I remember talking about this the first term in 2017, that they were talking about doing that.
When they were serious about it, nobody wanted to believe it.
Yeah, no, and there was actually, they were being built even back then. There were stories that came out about it back in 2017. So
now they have an unbelievable amount of money to play with.
Right. Now they got their budget through and they can do whatever they want. Yeah. Well, they can't.
It's interesting that they're doing it in Utah. Actually, when I thought about it, I thought about it more in terms of like past San Bernardino into the desert, or Arizona. I didn't think of Utah, but I should have, and I'll tell you why off camera.
Yeah, no, I mean, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure it's not just Utah though; it's all over the place, and it's
the pilot project right now,
right? But there were in his first term, they were building all over the place. They were building structures like that, and I don't know what happened to them. Maybe they just went.
Well, I think some of them became private
prisons,
prison business.
That makes sense. Yeah,
but I think some of them got absorbed into the immigration detention.
That makes sense.
System,
Yeah.
And it's really scary.
It is scary. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think our job here is done, Denise. I think I'm very impressed by your mad astrology skills.
Thanks. Well,
it's like listening to somebody speak a foreign language, and then the translator comes along and just tells me in 2 sentences what you took a half an hour to say.
Well, I want to explain it astrologically so you know that it's coming from the chart.
And we'll put somehow or other we'll get that chart visible for people so they can see it.
Right? Yeah.
Like maybe your community page. You could
I can put it up. I can put it up on when I put it up on Substack. I can put up the chart. I mean, the thing is, you were saying like the trauma of losing your father, but it's built into her chart. So even if it's sort of the nature nurture thing is sort of like a lot of what she came in with was who she was.
Karmic.
How she dealt with it is because of who she was. Somebody else could have had their parent do that and they would have been they wouldn't have been affected in that way.
Well, look how it bookended her life.
Yeah, I know. It was very karmic. She had a lot of karmic kind of stuff in her chart.
Chills. Yeah. When the light bulb finally went on, I went, oh, wow, there's a real dichotomy balance there. Yeah.
It was a theme. It was a massive theme. And it was all notable. Yeah.
How about those Lenormand cards? I mean, they might as well have said, it's because of her dad.
Well, you know what? The Lenormand cards are great in that they're so literal.
Specific. You can get really specific. Yeah.
And literal.
Yeah.
They're not like the tarot where you have to interpret them. No, they're just like bang, bang, bang.
I like them together because I think it's important to have a psychological understanding, emotional, and a spiritual. But the Lenormand are like, well, this is how it is.
Yeah, right. They were really used to tell women who they were going to marry and stuff like that, or if somebody was interested in them. That's I think how they developed, because it was a Madame Lenormand, who, back in the day when women had no power and no ability to do anything, they had to just marry well. So, young women would want to know, am I going to marry a good person or am I going to marry a bad guy? And so a lot of the readings were about stuff like that. And I think she was she took the regular playing cards and would use them to.
Yes, she did. You can get Lenormand cards that have
it has some of those. Yeah.
So I'd like to recommend a channel. There is a guy called the ASMR Historian, and he no commercials. He refuses commercials, so you can listen to it at night and not get woken up by somebody hawking bitcoins or something in the middle of it. And very soothing. It's ASMR. It's intended to be sensory. Yeah.
What does that stand for again?
I don't know. It means
I remember that. I know that word. Yeah, but
it's soothing to the senses. That's the only thing.
Right.
And there's a visual while he's talking. You can just turn off the lights and listen to him talk, put it on a timer, but there is a visual video. It's on YouTube, and he does these interesting things. All you see is his hands. You never see his face. You just see his hands. He'll deal out tarot cards and then he'll collect them, or he'll put shells on the table and he'll arrange them, and just things that are slightly mesmerizing, slow. They're for people that are having a hard time sleeping. Yeah. But I think it's interesting because he's really, really, really smart and very well informed. His things are fabulously researched, and he did one, you reminded me, he did one recently. It's all free on YouTube, the life of the medieval princess.
Oh, wow.
And it's all about, you think women who lived in a castle and they were noble and they had it made.
No.
And it's really interesting. Really
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah.
He's done some great ones on the Black Death.
Well, they were just breeding mares is all they were.
Well, they were chess pieces.
Yes, they were political chess pieces and breeding mares. That's it.
Yeah, property.
They didn't have any rights. Yeah.
It was awful.
It is
and
awful.
12 was about the average age, which is just
that's terrifying.
Yeah. All right, Denise, thank you very much. I hope everybody enjoyed that, and please let us know if you have questions or suggestions. Please catch that other video that I did, because there's a lot of background information that we didn't go into here that is really helpful. And check out Denise's channel where she's going to put the chart, right?
Yeah, I'll put the chart in.
Okay. All right.
Substack.
Yeah. Oh, don't just put it on Substack. A lot of people can't manage Substack. I hear from them all the time. They somehow can't access it, or
well, yeah, I don't think they're trying
hard.
It's
not user friendly for everybody. It really isn't.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I have a Substack.
I do too, and I think it's just I think people are just resistant. Myself, it's just like anything else.
I'm not dissing it.
I'm not dissing that either.
I had trouble with it too.
Yeah, well, it takes a minute to get used to it.
Well, I think it's a function of age too. We won't get into it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, very much for watching. Thank you, Denise. It was
fun.
You. Okay. Slán go fóill. Slánte.